Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Music Lounge. I'm your host, Derek Jones, and like always, we've got our other host.
It's me. Yeah, it's me. It's me, Matt Holland. It's great to have you back, Derek.
Wonderful to be back. This is going to be a little bit of a spooker episode. So we've got the Castlevania Circle of the Moon Underground Waterway theme playing. Now, I don't know if you've played this game. I know you've played this game, Matt, but the other people listening...
Oh, yeah.
This is not a pleasant place.
No, definitely not like your first time through.
Yeah, and especially if you go out of order when you don't get the water cleansing thing, which we only recently realized was a thing.
Sadly, yeah, we've been playing the game hard mode this entire time.
Yeah, you can get through the underground waterway without cleansing the water. But this episode is all about dungeons. So Matt, what would you consider a dungeon?
What comes to mind for me is your typical like a cave kind of thing, where it's barely lit. You're going through, you don't know which way you're going. But then again, like the other thing that comes to mind is a secret passageway that you find in like an old rundown building or something.
Yeah, you got like catacombs. We're talking temples. Anything that is a level in a game where it's not open world. It's not a village. It's probably got some monsters. It's got some spooky things you got to fight. You got some puzzles maybe. Basically, dungeons are generally the meat of the game. Really, you could call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah, I'll agree with that.
And while I was shopping through the songs, I noticed a weird trend that you wouldn't think of when you hear dungeons. Many of these songs are actually kind of peaceful.
I mean, you're right. I mean, because like a dungeon music isn't going to be atmospherically up, pumped up, amped.
Yeah,
because it's mysterious.
Yeah,
it's got to give you like a feeling of just calming, and then when the encounter happens, that's when it's just like, wah.
Yeah. I would actually say they're usually very atmospheric. They're just not like pumped. They're usually kind of tranquil, kind of somber, very melodramatic, and usually kind of a slower, calmer tempo, because you're usually walking around, you don't know where you are, you're solving some puzzles, maybe you're lost. And then usually when there's games that have, monsters or things like that, it usually snaps into a battle theme.
Yeah, like me being lost in Star Ocean till the end of time for, I don't know, 10 hours worth of gameplay.
Yeah, so many of these songs we're going to play are going to be more of your, more tranquil sounding, but definitely have an air of mystery. And there's so many different forms of dungeon out there. We have loads of things to pick from, but I believe it is my first pick, and
it is indeed.
And I'm gonna go with kind of a change from a traditional song. I'm gonna play a song from Metroid Prime. This is the Magmore Caverns. Now, this song it takes place in one of.
Derek, did you mean to say the Magmar Caverns?
I didn't. It's Magmore Caverns.
Darn.
Now, the Magmore Caverns, I would say it's basically a fourth of the world for Metroid Prime. It's lava covered. It's hot. What they did for the soundtrack for this area is they remixed the Lower Norfair from Super Metroid. They remixed the song that played when you're in the Ridley's area, and remastered it for the whole of the Magmore Caverns. And this area is, it's very large, it's volcanic. You got to kind of figure out your way through this huge underground volcanic labyrinth.
All right, that sounds pretty threatening. So let's, what better one to start out with?
We're going to take a dip into the lava in Magmore Caverns from Metroid Prime. So yeah, that was the Magmore Caverns. I really like how you can hear what I was talking about. How it's kind of tranquil, but it also has like anxiety to it.
It does. I mean, it keeps you a steady beat going through the whole thing. I do love the remixed version of Norfair
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
within that song. I mean, it's a throwback. You remember that because I mean, hell, it's been in every Metroid game just about.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I really like the how they made the emphasis those like tribal drums kind of.
yeah, and honestly, I think that's honestly where, to me, I guess most of the anxiety part comes through. It's always in the bass where
Yeah.
anxiety kind of kicks in.
Yeah, because the it just kind of makes you feel like you don't know where you are, and you don't. And especially when you're going through this for the first time, you're like, I don't know when the next save's gonna be, and my health's getting low here.
Oh, no kidding.
But I like how they kind of redid the main theme and made it like almost vocals, but not quite.
Oh yeah, yeah, I get you with
Like it's like
the
tribal
kind of
chanting, kind of.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was a good. I thought this was a good one. Boom, boom, boom. It's not like an instrument. It's supposed to. I think it's supposed to sound like it's a voice, like a chant.
Yeah.
But I like it. I thought this is a good one. It's not your traditional like you're in a labyrinth, but it's kind of like the whole area of this whole part of the game is more of a dungeon because you don't know where you're going, you don't know when you're gonna find a save. You're underground, you're surrounded by lava. It's very high like anticipation, which just speaks dungeon to me.
I'll agree with you on that one. It does portray the dungeon theme fairly well.
Yeah. And Metroid Prime's a great game. I definitely love it, but this area in particular, it keeps you on your toes, and I think the song really helps push that all the farther. And that's what
Oh
dungeon
yeah,
themes do.
indeed. All right, so here's my follow up for you. And it's a hard choice.
Yes.
Uh,
What you got?
well, I was gonna follow it up with one that I have from Super Metroid, but I don't want to do two Metroids in a row, right?
Okay.
So instead, I'm going to go with my Magmar reference, and I'm actually going to throw in a song from a Pokemon game,
Okay.
being Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Blue Rescue Team.
Okay. This is one we haven't heard from.
No, no, it's like a little offshoot series. Um, we'll talk a little bit more about the Mystery Dungeon series here in a second. The name of the song is Sky Tower. It's
Okay.
one of the dungeons that you crawl through in the game.
Okay. Let's get it going. That is I think, one of my favorite songs that we've played so far. I really enjoyed that rhythm.
Right? It's a very good rhythm, and like it really kicks in. Like it starts out soft, it starts out kind of nice and like slow, but then like the beat really kind of picks up. It's a dungeon, but I mean this is also Pokemon, so it's got to have a bit of liveliness to it.
Yeah, and I love just the way that rhythm sounds. Here, I'll go ahead and restart it for I like how it starts with this
Twinkles.
like the little twinkles, and then I really like when it gets into the bum bum bum. I just like the way that rhythm sounds. It's a delightful. It's a really good tune.
It really is. And so this there was actually two. So there were two releases for this game. There was the Red Rescue Team and the Blue Rescue Team.
Yes.
So
and
what was neat about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is it's a roguelike dungeon crawler. So
Yeah.
like every time like randomly generated dungeon.
turn-based dungeon crawler. Everything moves on the grid as you move, kind of style game, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like was it the an Etrian Odyssey style? As well?
Yeah. Old school. Old
yeah.
school Cave of the Winds. Many games like this, where you're kind of like in a grid tower, and as you move, basically everything is measured through one turn. You move up, all the enemies move closer. You punch once, every enemy gets to move closer. One gets to hit you. That style game, and that's a really interesting take on the Pokemon series.
Yeah, it was. Actually, a couple neat things about this. Well, I mean, first off, I really enjoyed the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, especially these two in particular, because I mean they were the originals. They started it off.
Yeah.
But it's like you are a human who gets turned into a Pokemon. So there are no people, there are no trainer battles in this whole thing. It's literally just you're playing a Pokemon.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out, because like you also get amnesia, so you're not sure how or why you're a Pokemon. So like the whole course of the game is you trying to get your memory back and figure out what happened, while at the same time you've joined up with a rescue team, which is basically like a Pokemon guild.
Yeah.
And you go around and help other Pokemon with their problems.
Yeah. And this theme is just really nice.
It is. Actually, speaking of which, what was neat about these two games in particular was Red Rescue Team came out on the Game Boy Advance and was the last Pokemon game to come out on the Game Boy Advance, whereas the Blue Rescue Team came out on the Nintendo DS.
Very interesting. I didn't know they kind of did that separation like that.
Yeah, it was like the kind of like the what's it called, the opening the door, opening the gateway is just like we're like, hey, here's this last Pokemon game. And they're like, oh, well, what's this? And you're like, oh, cool. Okay, cool. And it's like, oh, by the way, here's the DS with that Pokemon game, but a different one.
Yeah. I really like this. Really good tune on the song.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think that may that's definitely in my top 10 for the year so far. I mean, we're only on episode 5 now, but I think that's up there for me.
It's a pretty good song. It's probably going to be definitely one of the ones I choose for my top of the year list.
I mean, we still got a whole year to go. All of our songs may be dethroned by then. You never know.
It's true. Who knows? But I mean, it's going to be in there.
It's a good one. I really like it. I don't really.
It's in the running.
It's in the running. Yeah, it's noted. So Matt, you took us into the Sky Tower. I'm gonna drop us all the way down into the water. So I'm going the opposite way. I'm gonna play a song many gamers have heard. It's a song from Zelda: Ocarina of Time. One of the most well-known video games that has been ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go to everyone's most hated place, the Water Temple.
Oh boy!
But I really like this theme, and I'm just gonna go ahead and play it, and go ahead and trigger everyone with their PTSD of the Water Temple. I hope you enjoy. Oh man, the water temple.
It's not fun the first time you go through.
No.
I mean, you get used to it. You
Yeah.
get used to it. It is definitely one of the dungeons that has made its mark on
Oh yes.
gamer society.
Oh yes. And the theme, I think it 100% describes what we were talking about earlier. It's kind of peaceful, but that extra rhythm comes in and it's so like unnerving and it makes you so anxious, but it's also very tranquil at the same time.
Yeah, with it's not like the rain stick, but I can definitely hear like a remix of it with a rain stick. Where
Yeah.
it's just like the sound effects. It's like trickling water.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, yeah, it's like
Here, I'll
that
replay
string
it.
instrument comes in. Yeah, go ahead and play it again because like when that thing kicks in, it's like dun, 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 dun. You're like, oh, like what? Oh crap! Like is there something here? Is there like something to pop out at me?
Okay, no, where am I? Because it starts, and this sounds like very nice. It sounds like you're at like a spa. You know, it's very like new age kind of. It's what it is, and then like you're like, okay, this is nice. This is good. Like the twinklies. It's got the rain stick, as you're saying. It's got like a nice, just little nice like spa feeling. But then like the twinkle happens, and you're like, okay. But then that one instrument you were talking about, the dun 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 dun, you're like, oh god, where am I?
Yeah,
You're like, the nice feeling is gone.
It's not when it first kicks in. It's like right at the end of it where it drops and it's like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, because right here you start being like,
Right there.
ugh. You're like, this is where the unnerve starts happening. You're like, oh no, I don't like this anymore. You start getting lost. You don't know where you're going. You know, it's just a long, grueling. You can't find the right path. You don't know where that key is. You're tired of these enemies. You think you've been in this room before. And the song is just like, it's weird. It's, as I said, it's tranquil, but it's also very like anxiety.
Yes.
Because this flute no longer sounds happy. This is not a happy flute.
No. The now the flute's getting at you,
Yeah.
and you're just like,
Yeah, but I really like how it's. If you took out the flute and like the grunge, you'd be like, this is a really nice like new age spa sounding theme. But that's not what the song
yeah,
is.
the grunge.
Yeah, take out the anxiety. It's a nice song, but you leave it in, you're like, oh no, it's back.
Oh no! Oh, there it is.
Also, I do really like how this song has a stereo thing going on, where both ears get tickled by the
Oh
song.
yeah, definitely. That's always a little enjoyable for me because it's like you hear it in the left, and then it's like over there on the right, so it's like literally almost like forcing you to be like, huh?
Yeah, you're like, where is it? It's all around me. But I think this song just 100% describes what this episode is about.
Yeah, I'm feeling. I was feeling that one.
Yeah. That one, I mean, it's not one I want to listen to while I'm driving down the highway, but if you want a good dungeon theme, that's it right there.
That is definitely a really good dungeon theme. It's something I would probably play if I was running like if for one if I wanted to be extra for my tabletop RPG adventures.
Yeah. Like, alright guys, guess
but
where
it's
you're at?
definitely
You're at the
one that I
water
choose.
temple.
Oh no! Roll for initiative.
Yeah, it's a song that I'm sure a lot of people both hate and enjoy for all the right reasons. Because I'm sure everyone who's ever played that game just cringes when they hear Ocarina of Time Water Temple. It's funny how songs and games can trigger certain memories, and you're just like, no, not that again.
Ugh. All right, Derek.
What's your next one for me,
So,
Matt?
so I put you high. I put you
Yeah,
up in the sky tower,
yeah,
and
and
then
then
you
I
took me down to the water.
yeah. So where are we going next?
Well, you know what? I will follow you with my water dungeon,
Okay.
and it wouldn't be me if I didn't throw another wonderful song from the critically acclaimed one of my top favorite games, Okami.
Okay.
And
Great music in this whole
this
game.
oh yes, this title is Inside the Water Dragon.
I love that
So
title for
there's
starters.
literally yeah, there's literally a point in the game where you are swallowed by a rampaging sea dragon, um, and you wander around inside of him to try to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
So this is Inside the Water Dragon from Okami. There we go. So that was Inside Water Dragon
I like
from
that.
Okami.
I like that. It's it's very similar to the Zelda Water Dungeon where it's kind of peaceful. It had a lot less anxiety than the Zelda one did, I'll say.
Oh yeah, this one definitely kept a little bit more of the calming nature to it, but it still had, to me, that nice, mysterious kind of feeling as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's very Okami with the tranquility and just the general like nice kind of spiritual feeling I want to call it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I like how it opens with kind of like it's definitely like a mysterious feeling here.
Yeah,
Where like I'm no music major, but I like how the notes are arranged in such a way where you couldn't guess what where the next note is going to be on the scale, you know? It's
yeah,
kind of like all over the
and
place, but in a
yeah,
good
and
way.
for a like a water themed dungeon, still, like it has, like to me, like I could see like like under the water, like just like the motion of things, like just seeing like the
Yeah.
seaweed sway in the current and stuff like that.
Yeah. And just kind of the fish going by and you looking at where you are, where you're going. I like that feeling it kind of portrays. But it also has like
However,
that.
you're inside the guts of a sea dragon.
Yeah.
Instead of just being in the open water.
Yeah, and I like that instrument in the back that just held that one note for a while. That really gave it kind of that Asiatic feel.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. It's very. It also does have that kind of feeling of unease, which a lot of these dungeons have. So Matt, this is going to be a stretch for the Follow Me game, but you took us inside of a water dragon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the song I'm going to play from you is from Persona, which from Persona 4. Now the dungeons in Persona 4 are very interesting because each dungeon is inside the head of a person, basically. You're kind of going to the world that they created in their mind. So we're going from inside of a dragon to inside of a person's mind. Not exactly the same, but the song I've picked... It's a stretch, yeah. But the song I've picked for you is from Mitsuo. It's a dungeon later in the game, and it's just simply titled The Game. Now I really like
I was really hoping it would be this one.
I love this song. This to kind of give a description of the song so you can really paint the picture in your mind. Every person's dungeon has been like a part of their psyche. So the person who's trapped in their world and they want to be saved by the prince, their dungeon is like a castle and everyone there is regal. The person who's kind of hiding some maybe homoerotic feelings of some kind of feeling, their dungeon is like a spa, like a kind of like a bathhouse. This person is very game orientated. He's a closeted nerd, and he basically stays in his house all the time and plays games. And this dungeon basically looks like an 8-bit Mario kind of landscape, and the music very much portrays that. So we're gonna play for you Persona 4, Mitsuo's Dungeon, the game.
That is a fun track.
Man, I love that song. I really like it's really groovy with that bass guitar. Man, and I really love the B-side to it when it gets into like that dun 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 dun. And it's interesting, despite how that song kind of has that high energy part, as soon as that high energy part's done, it goes straight into that anxiety feeling that we were talking about. But this beginning here, the dun, 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 I can't like stay still during this song.
No, like
It's a very pop.
yeah. You definitely want to get to moving with it.
And I like how it's like an evolving song. Like it starts with one tone, then it adds a new layer, then it adds another layer, then it adds another layer.
Yeah, kind of like basically like a progression of console game music.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the feeling they were trying to go for, where it starts like very, Commodore 64, goes to NES, kind of gets into this Super Nintendo feel.
Mm-hmm.
I think the composer did an amazing job on the song. And when this part hits, oh man, I love it. Dun, 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 dun. I love it. It's so good. And the bass guitar.
I
so
do
like
enjoy the bass guitar for it.
And then right here it drops into that like anxiety kind of nervousness part. It's just so like what a dungeon should sound like. Like this kind of feeling right here.
Yeah.
And then it loops back. It's such a good loop too. This is a really fun track.
Well, Derek, I will say you've given me a hard pick to follow this up with.
Yeah.
As much as I enjoy, because you talked about, as with Persona, you go into these dungeons to basically help or rescue the person that is inside these dungeons. Within their own mind.
Yeah, you basically.
So I have a song.
Okay.
Titled Rescue Mission.
Okay.
But at the same time, I have another song. Kind of going with like one of the other themes of one of the dungeons in Persona 4, where you're needed saving from a castle.
Yes.
So I do have another song called "The Tragic Prince."
Oh, okay.
Right, but then again, I have yet a third song I could follow this up with.
Well, don't spoil too much of your soundtrack, because if I putting my game knowledge to the test, the Tragic Prince is a Castlevania song, isn't it?
You are correct. So I'm actually going to save that one.
Oh yes.
So instead, I'm going to follow up your song with another upbeat dungeon theme.
Okay.
Because this one, as it says, you have a little bit of the the worriness to it, but it had a very fun feel at the same time.
Okay.
Not your typical dungeon feel too much, but
well, dungeons come in all shapes and sizes, and why don't you tell us what kind of dungeon we're delving into this time?
Well, this dungeon, I'll say, has a very interesting beat. Disco comes to mind as we descend into this dungeon, or this game. The name of the game is Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Yes, very good game. We played a Cadence of Hyrule on our last episode, and that is a kind of a restyling of this game, so I'm excited to hear this track.
Correct. So actually, yeah, like I said, the actual name of the song is Disco Descent.
Delightful. Let's
from Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Oh man,
Well,
I was grooving during that one. I loved that.
you can't play Crypt of the Necrodancer and not get into the beat.
I was feeling it. I was moving my hands. I was bobbing back and forth. I was all over the place. I really enjoyed that.
The whole game, like you said, I mean, they did a really good. What you've told me, they've done a fantastic job with Cadence of Hyrule, but I mean, Crypt of the Necrodancer is spot on a great rhythm game,
Yeah.
and with its with the way that it's stylized as like as your roguelike dungeon crawl,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
fantastic idea.
it's basically the way Pokemon Mystery Dungeon works, but in rhythm form.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And the music is it's so pump. I mean, it starts with this
is.
great like bum 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 bum, and then it gets. Oh man, it's just I don't even know what words to call it. It's just good. It's a
Yeah,
jam.
and,
It's
I
just
mean,
straight up jam.
and here the worriness that you get, that anxiety that comes from this song, really
Yeah.
isn't from. I mean,
It's definitely still in
from
there.
The music. It's from the music, but it's more or less from your own mind because
Yeah.
you're trying to keep that beat. And if you mess up once, you might trigger a oh crap scenario where you just start missing
Snowballing.
the beat entirely.
Yeah.
You start snowballing, and then that's when all the monsters are just like, oh cool, let's just
Jump on them.
let's jump on 'em, get them now.
But the music too, it kind of has that like where the songs droop down. I want to say, if that makes sense. Each like note kind of droops down, and that gives it that anxious feeling of like you're in a dungeon. I feel
Yeah.
where like light and airy songs kind of go upwards with their notes. These songs, whenever they're held notes, they always go down. They drift downward.
Yeah, and let me go ahead and give like a really big shout out to the composer of the sound of the entire soundtrack,
Oh,
Danny,
yeah.
and I'm going to probably mess up his last name, but his name is Danny Baranowski.
Yeah, I believe it's
It's either
Baranowski.
Baranowski.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apologies if I've messed up that name entirely. But that guy
He composes
knows
very
how
well.
to write music.
Yes. Very, very. It's an indie game. Great indie title. If you like rhythm games, definitely check this one out, and check out Cadence of Hyrule too, because he also worked on that, and it's as I said, it's a Zelda blend of the same game. Both are really fun, really fun games.
Yeah, I will say I'm not ashamed to say it at all. I did pick up my copy of Crypt of the Necrodancer. It was on the PlayStation Store, I believe. It was on. It was a special one day, and actually, I think it might be coming up again soon because I got it on special for Halloween.
Oh
They
yeah,
had like a big Halloween sale, so
Yeah.
I mean, I will not doubt that they have like another spooky sale. So
it's a great game
check
for
it out.
Halloween. Check it out. Great spooktacular. Dungeon filled with zombies, filled with scary things, and great beats.
don't mess up because the monsters know exactly how to keep beat.
Yes, they're better than you. But okay, I really like how you kind of went for a more amped up, obviously disco descent. So the song I'm going to play for you is one from Final Fantasy XIV. Now this game has many dungeons. It's a huge part of an MMO, is going through a dungeon with some people. Every dungeon in this game has a different song, but the one I'm going to pick for you it's called Fractal Continuum. Now this dungeon music,
Intense.
yeah, it's very intense sounding music, or sounding name, and the music for this it's kind of got that techno, high rhythm. It doesn't sound like any of the songs we've played before. It's kind of very techno, and I'm just gonna let the music speak for itself.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get right into this track.
That's Final Fantasy XIV, The Fractal Continuum.
Now that was a killer song.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I really like. I mean, it's a great tune. I really like how it's not your traditional dungeon, but it also does have that lower somber feeling to it still.
It still does. I would definitely say the song kind of is, and it's probably just because of the guitar. It gives me the throwbacks to Dynasty Warriors a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I could see that.
Just a little bit. You can't have a Dynasty Warriors song without your
The rock and
guitar,
yeah.
the rocking guitar solos.
I like how while it does have an air of mystery to it, it's kind of like, I mean, this dungeon is really like space age. It's magical. It takes place in basically a floating city of technology that's way beyond everyone else's, and the music kind of hints to that, where it's kind of like mystical and futuristic almost.
Yeah.
It still has that like air of mystery to it, but it's more of like a sci-fi mystery too, if that makes sense.
I see what you're saying with that one actually. Now that you say that, I can definitely get the sci-fi
Feeling to the rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, this dungeon takes place on basically a series of floating islands that are home to basically a dead civilization that's like light years beyond everyone else's technology. That's been lost to the world, but it's still part of the world, and you kind of go there to investigate basically what's going on. And the second I went to this dungeon while I played this game, I was like, oh my god, this theme is amazing.
Definitely agree with you on that one.
And since it's an online game, it's just the type of thing where you end up doing the same dungeon multiple times. You're trying to get rewards. And anytime this popped up on something that I had to do, I was like, I'm 100% okay with it because I love the theme to it.
Yeah, I will say, whenever you're playing an MMO and the music for the dungeon has to be
one you want to do.
Decent enough.
Yeah, it's got to be one you want to hear because you're going to hear it. Either that or you're going to be playing your own music. But if the song's good enough, you don't need to play your own music to keep you occupied.
Exactly.
And I love it when it gets to this part where like the kind of rocking goes away for a little bit, and that's where that mystery kind of sets in.
Yeah, that futuristic sound.
Mm-hmm. And all the enemies here, they're like clockwork soldiers, big clockwork tanks. Obviously something that most technology doesn't have, but it's here in this place. In the fractal continuum, which is basically just a huge sci-fi dungeon, is the best way I can describe it for people who haven't seen it.
Which I am one of.
I really like the slower part to it.
The slower part's cool. I mean, I will say I definitely am a little bit more partial to that.
The rockin' beats.
The rockin' guitar parts, because I mean, it's an MMO. I mean, you're constantly in the action in a dungeon, so it's not just a dungeon theme. It is also
a battle theme. Yeah, it's dungeon and battle all at the same time because you're going through and the music doesn't change when you run in. The music changes for boss fights, but not for general trash mobs as the MMO term would be for it.
Yeah.
But I like how it's not always amped and it's not always calmed down. It's a good blend of both. Because it switches from that high energy to this little lower tempo, and I just love the way the song was done, and I just love the way it sounds.
Agreed. 100% agreed. 14 has a lot of really good music to it.
Yeah, I mean, each dungeon has its own theme, each boss has its own theme, every city, every area. There's hundreds, so many songs in this game, and the main composer, Soken, does such a good job. He is the hero of the people because he does amazing work. Anytime, even like there are plenty of dungeons and bosses that are just, callbacks to other Final Fantasies, but he always puts his own take on each song, and every time I hear the way he does new songs, I'm like, oh man, Soken, you're so good.
Thank you so much. Well, all right. So I think it's my time to play a song. It's my time to kind of
Hit.
follow the trail
Yeah.
per se,
How
because
are
I
you
can.
gonna? What are you gonna follow that up with? I'm excited.
Well, actually, I'm gonna choose a Final Fantasy song as well.
Okay.
Um, but this one is not the mainstream,
Okay. Which
and I say not the mainstream because it's not one of the
the
numbers,
numbered series. Okay. Which
the
what one?
numbered series.
What Final Fantasy game do you have for us?
So this Final Fantasy game is a great classic. It's a great multiplayer game actually, and it came out on the GameCube,
Ah,
and that is
I know which one you're talking about.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Mm-hmm. Fun game. Good music too. The brunt of this game is dungeons. I would say. I would say like probably 90% of this game is dungeons.
Definitely, and like the other 10% is you
You on the map or you
kind
at a
of just like
town?
bop walking around town.
Yeah. Really fun
At least for
game.
me, it was bop walking because I always play the Ukes.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a really fun game. It is not the easiest to play with everyone. I do think it was. I think it was remastered recently. But unfortunately, when this game came out, the only way to play it was the GameCube had a peripheral that attached to your Game Boy Advance, and you basically had to have if you wanted to have four people playing this game, you needed a copy of the game, four connecting cords for the controller slot to the Game Boy Advance, and then four people had to have their own Game Boy Advance.
Yep,
Which is
and I distinctly remember going to a GameStop and buying a discounted Game Boy Advance SP just so we could play this game.
yes, yes. Not the most easy to play game since you need to have five different consoles, but very fun
Yeah,
nonetheless. So
I mean it was an interesting concept, I should say.
very interesting concept. Not my favorite execution. Let's just say that.
No, no.
But let's hear what song you have for us, Matt.
So the song I picked for this one is probably one of my favorites from the whole game. It's called "Shutter Monster."
Yes. This is a good one. I believe this plays in the mines, although I cannot remember the name of the dungeon.
You are correct. It does play in the mines.
I already have the rhythm in my head without even hearing it. But let's let the people who are listening hear this song with us.
All right. So this is "Shutter Monster" from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicle.
Shutter Monster.
Ooh, gives you the shudders.
Oh, that's a song that I have a love-hate relationship with. But I mean, it's a great tune.
It's a great little tune, and like we were saying before, Crystal Chronicles is a great little it's a great little game to have. But definitely the requirements to play with multiple people, or even just yourself, is a little frustrating.
It's not the easiest game to get into. I mean, it's a really fun game if you can get everything you need together to play with people, but doing so is a trial process in itself.
Yep. Well, I will say, Derek, look forward to next year because I believe they are doing a remaster of it for the Switch.
Yes, and then you won't need Game Boy Advances just to play as a controller.
No, all you need is more of the little Switch side controllers.
Yes.
Because I mean, with the game, I mean, you didn't need the whole GameCube controller to play it. I mean, you literally all you needed was A, B, and movements.
Yeah, though it would have been nice if you could play the GameCube game with the 2 GameCube controllers you already had.
Nah, that's
Why would they do that?
No, you gotta. Then how would you look at your inventory and not interrupt your other player?
It was an idea. It wasn't my favorite idea, but it sure was an idea.
Indeed, but going back to the song, I guess the reason why I picked this one, it's. I mean, I just really I enjoy it. It's like, you're going through this mine, and you're just like, oh, okay, let's ooh, there's some treasure, and then the monster shows up, and you're just like, oh no, it's
some gerblins.
Time to fight.
I mean, I like it. It's a fun rhythm. It makes you want to hum it. It definitely is one of those things that gets stuck in your brain. And then you're just walking around and you're like, do 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 do.
And you're like, oh crap.
The song.
I'm doing it again.
I love it. I mean, I genuinely enjoy the song. I just hate how easily it gets stuck in my head because it doesn't leave.
It's true. One of the other things I really enjoy with the game is, it has the flute.
Yeah.
But the instrument that I enjoy the most from this one is the oboe.
Yeah, I like
to me,
the shaky in the background.
Which fits. Oh, the monsters are shuddering.
I really like the ending of the song too. I just like how you think it's gonna keep this rhythm the whole time, but then it gets to this part and the song kind of changes entirely. But here's where the anxiety feel comes from. You're back and you're in a place you don't know. You don't know which way to go. This kind of feeling's like,
don't drop the crystal.
Dun 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 dun.
See, that was the oboe.
The oboe. I love it. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good tune.
You got the combination of the oboe just keeping the low tunes, and then you have the string going alongside with it, just like the.
It's just all around a fun tune. And
it definitely is. It's I will say it's definitely one of the more calmer.
Yeah, but as we said,
I'm not going to say the most calm.
No.
But I'll say it's definitely the most lighthearted.
Yes.
Dungeon theme.
Yes, but as we said, dungeon themes, you wouldn't think it at first when you just hear the word dungeon, but a lot of them do have that more tranquil, calming feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bing, bong, bong, bong. And then the oboe again. I love it. Dun, 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 and it just goes straight back in. Oh man! Every time that loop. And when you're in this dungeon, mind you, the song doesn't change when you're fighting enemies, so this is all you get.
No.
At first, for a minute and a half, I'm like, man, I love the song. But when you have 10 minutes of the song, each time that loop restarts, a little bit of your brain just is like, I hate it. I hate it and I love it. It's a good one, though.
And it literally gets to the point where it's just 4 people watching a screen going,
And it just repeats right after there, and you're. It's the loop that never ends.
Oh man. All right, so we had that fun trek down memory lane. Uh, Derek, what's next? What else you got for us?
So my logical follow-up from that is I'm gonna stick with the Final Fantasy, and I'm going to the numbered series. I'm gonna play you the song that I enjoy humming most of all.
Oh,
You played me one that I love to hate to hum. I'm gonna play you the song that. This is the song that stuck in my brain the most as a kid. When I was younger, I played through Final Fantasy 3/6 all the time on the Super Nintendo. It was one of the. It's probably the game I played most in my younger years, and I would always find myself humming this song, tapping it on a desk. It's just one that kept like my brain flowing because I get easily distracted, and video game music has always kind of evened me out and kind of like helps me focus. If it's a rhythm that I can readily go back to and kind of just hum along and tap, I can focus on things better. And this is the song that always got me to focus. This is Final Fantasy VI, the Magitech Research Facility theme.
ooh, yeah. Let's go ahead and jump straight into this.
I love that song. It is one that I've liked since I was like 5, I think. This dungeon itself is again, it's called the Magitech Research Facility, and I love how the whole rhythm to the song is like the machinery in the background. It's like machinery working that's like kind of playing the song. And anytime a game does that,
you can hear like the clank sounds, and then there's also like that sound effect that like for some reason just stood out to me the most, was the best way I can describe it is the Transformers sound,
yeah,
where it's like
yeah, the sliding noise.
in there.
Yeah,
I can definitely see why this is probably
It's
one
just-
of your most one of your favorites.
Yeah.
Especially one of the most memorable for you, because I mean
It's
It's
so
a, it's a
easy to
good.
like tap too.
It is. It's a solid bass. It's a solid rhythm.
And anytime a game does that thing where like the environment is playing the music, I'm immediately hooked. Because, you know, a lot of video game music, obviously it sounds, you know, gamey, it sounds like it's chiptune, but I love that about video game music, don't get me wrong. But anytime the composer makes it sound like the place you're in is what's playing the music, I love it so much more. And that's what this song does. It doesn't sound like, you know, the cave is playing music. It sounds like this laboratory is alive, and that's the noise you're hearing.
Yeah.
And the this like main rhythm too. It's not like too extreme. It's very basic, but in that like basicness, it's so just memorable. It's so easy to just like get in your head and tap to. And yeah, I love that like slide noise, the shwing. The shwing. Very electronic computer turning on noise.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, it's. I agree with what you said about like having the environment be the music.
Yeah.
Especially for when it comes to be like like a dungeon, because I mean, yeah, we've heard of the songs that we played so far. Like I said when we first started, like what I typically think of as the dungeon is typically like a cave.
Yeah. And sometimes caves will do like
across.
sometimes caves will do like drip noises, like you can kind of hear the cave is alive. But any song that takes a good environment feel and really makes the environment sound like it's the music, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, every sound effect in this
Transformers
song.
now.
Like, your brain can focus on each, like, you can focus on the main rhythm, you can focus on that backbeat, you can focus on the little transformer sound. There's so many pieces that make up that song, and I love it. One of my all-time favorite songs from any game, just ever since I was a kid. That song has been stuck in my head for like 20 plus years, and I still love it.
I will 100% agree. I mean, those are the games that will remember because of those songs. Because I mean, like I said, like it'd be out of the blue. Like you'll just think you could hear like just a sound somewhere that would make you be like, oh, that sounds like, or like it would just trigger and you go straight into it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's so many times where I was a kid at school and I just tapped the, and my brain would just like go into the rhythm and I would just hum it.
So my next choice is the song is called "Rescue Mission," and it's actually from Star Ocean: The Second Story.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the soundtrack, so I'm excited to hear it.
It's for me. This is it's basically your first dungeon per se for the game, and it takes place inside of a mine. Just like you go through one of the second towns you go through is like a mining town, and
Okay.
basically, like your secondary character gets kidnapped, and so you have to go on your rescue mission to save that person. I do believe the mines were called Salva Drift.
Okay. Yeah,
I believe.
I'm familiar with the Star Ocean series as a whole, but I don't know if I've played this game, so it's a song I haven't heard, so I'm excited to hear it.
Well, we'll go ahead and get into the song. This one's really cool, just because it definitely has like the like you feel rushed. You're just like, oh, I've got to get there. I've got to save this. You feel rushed.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. For a rescue song, I would hope it would kind of give that feeling of you gotta hurry.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get into the song, and then I'll talk a little bit more about Star Ocean afterwards. So again, this is Rescue Mission from Star Ocean: The Second Story. So that was Rescue Mission.
It's a short little
Yeah,
track.
it was. It is short, but I mean it repeats. I mean, so long. I mean, you're in the dungeon. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
video game
fair.
soundtrack.
Fair.
It's a short track, but I mean, it's straight to the point. It's you're going into a dangerous place. There's a little bit of mystery, intrigue, but what's on top of your mind is,
The
oh
rescue.
crap, I have to go save um, this person. And the song really does come across really well as like a, I need to hurry. I need to find out where they're at,
Yeah.
and I need to save.
Yeah. Where whereas a lot of the songs we've been playing have kind of that slowed down rhythm of exploration feel. This song is definitely like get there, go, you got to do this. And
Yeah,
it's two very distinct ways to do a dungeon. You can either make it like high energy, high energy, quick go get it, or that I'm lost feeling.
mm,
And this definitely conveys that feeling of you got to get there, you got to get this done real quick. This is important.
go now, get it.
But I like the
Yeah.
overall rhythm to it. It definitely makes me feel like I got to go running.
I will definitely recommend this game to anyone. If you're interested in the Star Ocean series, I mean, you could go back and you could play the first one, but I will honestly say that Star Ocean: The Second Story is where the series truly begins, because it's where a lot of the more common things in the later installments first started.
Okay.
Yeah, and what's neat is during this rescue mission. So actually, when the game starts, you have two choices of characters to play as. You can either play as the male protagonist,
Yeah.
Claude. I believe his last name is Kenny. Yeah, Claude Kenny, who's like a cadet in like the Space Forces.
Yeah.
Or you can play as a girl named Rena, who she's got pointy ears.
Maybe an
So,
elf
I
of some
mean,
kind.
I mean, you would think, but I mean, in Star Ocean, like elves aren't particularly like the race. They're just like a pointy-eared
Yeah.
humanoid type race.
Yeah,
Um,
some mystery fantasy race.
yeah. And what's neat is the game does have slight differences depending on who you pick as your character. The game has multiple different endings. I do believe there's like a total of like 12 party members that you can collect, but you actually only get up to 8 of those characters in your party. So, and it really depends on which character you choose,
Yeah.
and which characters you'll be able to get later on.
Very interesting. So it's kind of got definitely two different playthroughs at least to see everything that happens.
Definitely, if you're interested, or at the very least, let me throw out my recommendation: get Star Ocean: The Second Story.
Okay, so you took us into a mine. So I think I'm going to follow up with also staying in a mine.
Oh no!
I'm going to play another song from a game we heard on the Town episode, but I threw you for a curve on that episode with the DFO slash DNF Dungeon Fighter Salif Village of Spores that we played there.
Mm-hmm.
I've got another song from that same game. This is going to be The Gold Tunnel.
The Gold Tunnel.
Yes.
From DFO.
From DFO slash DNF, depending on your region.
Correct.
Now, this game is basically entirely dungeon themes and boss themes. Each dungeon has its own theme, and there's over 100. And this one is for a cave area. You're kind of going through. The dwarves are basically dug this gold tunnel through this area they weren't supposed to be in, and you kind of, take them out. But I really like this song. It's not what you'd expect. It's kind of like a rock opera ballad, and I just really enjoy the way this one sounds.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get rich with this one.
We're going into the gold tunnel from DFO slash DNF. Dungeon Fighter. really like it's very similar to how the fractal continuum sounded, how it's got that like high energy, but then it's also got that really low this part right here. I
Actually,
just
really enjoyed like just this part, right?
yeah, right.
Going
I like
through.
this kind of middle part once the next instrument picks up, because it does the same thing where like it evolves the song as you go through. I just like this part right here. It's kind of like, as I said, it's kind of like a rock ballad almost.
It is. Uh, Man, I gotta get this song for myself.
It's a good one, yeah. This whole game has really good music. So many of these dungeons just have rhythms that I'm just like, oh man, I like that a lot. I like how it also has that like anxiety feeling that we were talking about. And I just like all the little like little subtle nuances in the song. The little like
I, I I'll say for me personally, like this song doesn't really trigger like the anxiety thing.
not
For
cool.
me, it just for me it's it's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Like
Um,
it's the chill low like it's not that low level rock or
yeah,
the low toned rock.
yeah. It's kind of almost got the Nirvana feel, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. Where it's just like it's not heavy rock, but it's just like that slow, very deliberate like ballad feeling,
hmm
and I like it a lot.
yeah, yeah. The just both guitars in this really do it for me.
Yeah, that's a really good one. It's just a good tune.
Yeah, and I mean, I know this. You know, you described what the area for it was, but for me, like whenever I hear this song, it's like I kind of think almost like Sin City, kind of.
I could see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I really like that just that Nirvana almost not. I don't want to say grunge, but just the slow guitar.
No, I mean you can definitely still call it grunge.
Yeah, it's not heavy grunge. It's slow grunge.
You know, I got one. I've got what my next one's gonna be.
Okay.
Um, and for me, I picked this song because one, I enjoyed the area, but at the same time, it uneased me
Okay.
because it's of just like the kinds of enemies that I faced in there. Like you know, anytime I would have to start back from my last save and go through a part again, and
Yeah.
it was just like, oh crap, I have to deal with that thing
What
again.
what game are we talking about?
This game is Hollow Knight.
Ah, yes. This game has great music.
It does. The particular area that I chose was the Soul Sanctum.
Hmm.
A very cool place. Definitely one that was more heavy in the magic aspect of the game.
Hollow Knight's another indie game.
I will say I'm still new to it. I've only just recently, within the past couple of months, obtained it and have played through it. But it's left an impact on me. All right, so here we go with Hollow Knight, Soul Sanctum.
Wow, that one was so good. It was a journey too,
right?
and I think
Yeah,
that's our
definitely.
longest song we've played so far too.
It is. Like, it starts out eerie, and then as it continues on, like it builds and builds and builds until it crescendos out
Yeah,
into that full on, just like that hectic, fight for your life thing. Which I mean, that is Hollow Knight.
yeah,
I mean, it's your Metroidvania style, Dark Souls essentially.
yes, and yeah, it just I really like how it just builds and builds and builds, and it finally ends 4.5 minutes into the song, which is, as I said, it's our longest song yet. Pre loop, and it's a really good. I just like how it takes you through this whole journey.
It does, and like I said, the whole area of like the Soul Sanctum is, um, like you come across like these spellcasters, and like so they're like shooting spells at you and teleporting everywhere all over the screen. So it's like you're trying to get away, and then it's just like boom, it's like right in front of you, and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah, it's very
So
hectic.
yeah, so like that's like where the hectic stuff comes in, but then like the eerie, creepy stuff that comes in is like the failed experiments with trying to manipulate this soul energy. So you have like these like zombified, mindless husks
Yeah,
crawling around and trying to grab at you.
yeah, and this song is very spooky, very creepy. It's got that atmospheric. Just it's just creepy, and I like how the song itself makes you feel that fear.
Hmm. Definitely. And I will say, I might throw in the follow up boss theme for this area for one of our future episodes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I like here where the organ kind of comes in, which just
Yes,
adds to the creepy factor.
uh, that's one of my favorite things in music is like I like kind of like sort of like the classical vibe a little bit, like like
Yeah,
um, that rock opera, that operatic kind of feel
yeah,
or sound, I should say. I really enjoy that stuff. So it's like the music from Dark Souls. I really enjoy that stuff.
mm-hmm,
So when I finally got to be like, you know what, let me go ahead and try Hollow Knight out. I hear a lot of good things about it,
yeah.
and it's a platformer.
It's a
And
roguelike kind of.
it's yeah, it's
It's
definitely been an excellent choice for me
it
so far.
it is to follow up with the meme that's on the internet. It's the Dark Souls of roguelikes. But it actually is. I mean, that's kind of what the designer wanted to make this game, and it very much has that feeling. And the way the game takes its music direction, how the themes are very dynamic and they shift as you move through the dungeons and they change as the enemies come on screen. It's really well made.
Definitely, because I mean, like when it first starts out, I mean, you're like in basically like a sealed off tomb kind of thing. So it's like through that, and even going into like the first town, it's just like it's dark, it's gloomy,
Yeah,
and the music really matches well to the visuals.
yeah. This whole game is it's a testament to like well composed music. I feel just music direction in general. The whole way the game is done, the way the art is done is really nice. It's just with the art and with the music and just the presentation, I think it's a visual and auditory masterpiece.
I'll agree.
I want to hear this ending before we cut this out because I just love the way it just builds and builds and builds, and the different instruments come in. You can feel like you're coming to
Yeah,
like some
it's
sort
just
of.
everything just comes together, and it's just like
It comes to a
as
climax,
clearly as
yeah. It just builds to that. It builds to that climax of the song right here. I really like the way that's composed.
true. Great music, great game. Check it out.
Yeah. All right. Well,
So yeah, what's up next?
okay. Well,
What do you got?
you definitely took us to a very dark and gloomy, pumped up track. That just builds and builds with the anticipation. I'm gonna kind of go down. I'm gonna slow it down for us.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna play a song from Dark Cloud 2. Now you played a song from this in our town episode, I believe. You played the Palm Brings
Yeah.
theme.
Hmm.
The song I'm gonna play for you is the Chapter 4. Now the way this game works is you basically slowly each chapter is one really long dungeon.
Hmm.
And you can occasionally go back to town. You build towns. You basically take the things you find from the dungeon and you slowly build the town back up. And each chapter has one long dungeon. So like chapter 1 is the sewers, and every time you go into the sewers, it has that same theme. So I'm gonna play you the chapter 4 dungeon theme, which is it's called Mount Gundor, and
Yeah, that's a good choice.
this is a song I really like. So you get to this big volcano. It's raining ash down, and the whole town is destroyed and gone. And you finally end up at this huge volcano, and you think it's going to be really high energy, high just like an explosive track, like you'd think from a volcano. But that's not at all the direction they took. The song is actually very peaceful, but I really like the way it's presented because it does definitely have the air of mystery and the kind of the anticipation, because this part of the game is where the enemies really start ramping up, and I think this is where the difficulty really starts spiking.
I'll agree with that statement. That yeah, at this point in the game, it's definitely when like if you haven't been doing what you should be doing with your weapons, you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, yeah. But we'll let the music play and then we'll talk about it. So this is Dark Cloud 2, Chapter 4's Dungeon, Mount Gundor. That is the thing I really like about that song. It's not necessarily the rhythm, it's the
Hmm.
instrument choice. Because I love how that entire song is bongos and pan flute, and that's all.
Yeah, and again, like it's something you wouldn't really think of, being that the dungeon is a volcano.
Well,
Um,
see, that's the
but
thing.
at the same time, I can also see it. I mean,
Yeah. The thing about it is what I was saying, the reason I love the instruments so much. But yeah, it's the way that the song is like bongos and the pan flute. I think that is what makes it sound like a mountain to me. Like if this was any two other instruments, it wouldn't have that feeling at all. But since it's got those like the tribal bongos and the pan flute long held notes that's almost like whistling, it sounds like a volcano or like you're up on a mountain to me. Like if this was done with,
I can see what you mean.
yeah, like if this was like a piano and like a on a piano and like a bass guitar, it would sound completely different. And I love this part right here. Do 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 do. This I really like this song. It's one of my favorites.
A lot of the Dark Cloud 2 soundtrack is actually really good, and I will have a song for that saved up, stockpiled for a future episode. But I'm actually, funny story is I actually have another Dark Cloud 2 song for this episode. Crazy,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I remember we did a little pre-show a few episodes ago, and you mentioned interest in a song from this game for our upcoming dungeon episode, and I had this one picked a long time ago, and I was like, I'm gonna play it. Even if you play yours from Dark Cloud 2, I'm still gonna play this one. Because I really like this song, especially this part right here. And the way the bongos sound in the background, I'd really enjoy that. I love how simple the song is. You think you hear volcano and you think it's going to be, as I said, explosive, but it doesn't sound unfitting when you get to this point in the game.
True.
And I
mean, going back to a little earlier in the episode, when you played the song from Metroid Prime,
Yeah.
that was a lava-filled, like kind of volcano-esque area.
Yeah.
And you saw the intensity that came from that, and then to come back later in and
Another
give us
volcano.
a
Yeah.
volcano dungeon again, but with the music being
Completely
more-
different.
Yeah, completely different, way toned down from the first time.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about this is like, whereas the Magmore caverns, they were exactly that. They're caverns. They're deep underground, so they're kind of like the drums in that are more like kind of surround sound, if that makes sense. They're more atmospheric. This mountain is, it's a big mountain. It's up high. You're on top of a volcano, and I think the way the drums carry that, the feeling between the two songs, one sounds, like it's underground, and this one sounds like you're high up with those long held pan flute notes. I think the kind of whistle feeling makes you feel like you're up on top of a mountain, and that's what I really like about it. You can have two dungeons, and both of them are volcanoes. Both of them you're surrounded by lava, but they're completely different, and the music direction behind them is completely different. But both somehow sound fitting.
Oh yeah, definitely. As you said, like, for you, you feel like this is basically the turning point in difficulty in the game for the enemies, and to have, again, you're in this area. It's a town that's basically built like right next, or basically like on a volcano.
Yeah.
And you're going through this volcano, and then there's all these tough enemies just romping around,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have this level of calmness to you because of the music.
Yeah. It's calming, and yet it kind of has that like driving on feeling that just makes you want to push on and push through.
All right, Derek. So, thank you for taking me on the journey through Mount Gundor.
No problem. I love that song. Happy to go through there every time I get to the game.
This is the dungeon episode, and for me, like, what better game to have dungeon music for than a classic game that anyone, if you had a PC, I should say, had the joy, I hope, to play. Derek, I want you to stay a while and listen to this track.
Ah, lovely callback. For those of you who aren't in the know, what game are we listening to, Matt?
So the game we're listening to is Diablo. And this is, again, back for the PC. This is Diablo 1. And this is just the dungeon music from Diablo.
That is a classic game right there. That is pretty much the original dungeon crawler.
Pretty much, Diablo introduced a new level.
Yeah, I think Diablo. I don't want to say it created its own genre, but it almost did. The procedurally generated dungeon that you slowly explore.
Hmm.
Procedurally generated being that no two playthroughs are the same. The dungeon is basically randomly generated upon starting a new game, and I don't want to say it was the first game that did that. I can't confirm that, but I think it is one of the first.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, most RPGs up until this point, they had the same dungeon you'd go through every time, every playthrough, so you basically know what you're doing the second playthrough. Whereas Diablo, you'd eventually
Diablo, you're just like, what am I going to be in for this time?
Yeah, the dungeon is never the same. Each time you create a new character, which you do multiple times, because that's the style of game it is. It has different classes and different things you can do. But each time you basically make a foray into that game, the dungeon is different.
So we'll go ahead and get into this. So this is the dungeon music from Diablo 1 for the PC.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long track. That is
I mean,
Diablo.
you can't get any more dungeon than that. Like honestly,
No.
that is the dungeon. Like it's got all the anxiety, all the fear. It's even got like a person screaming in the background, like they're being tortured in a dungeon, which is exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, when Diablo came out, I mean, it really set like a new bar for like a dungeon adventure game.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Because there's definitely been like others in the similar vein in the similar area, like Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, Dark Alliance 2,
Yeah, absolutely.
Champions of Norath,
Yeah,
similar styled games, but
I do think Diablo was the first. As far as the music goes, I I mean it's just all those things we talked about throughout the episode. It's got that anxiety tone, it's got long held notes, it's got that drum in the background that makes you unsure of yourself. It's very, very atmospheric. This song is like the definition of atmospheric.
oh yeah, for me, the big bass drum in the back is more like like the heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah, it's like the heartbeat of the dungeon. And then these like creepy nails on a chalkboard sound. There's all these like you can like critters crawling around. There's so much to this song. The composer did such a good job adding all of these little nuances to it. I can't even imagine what like composing something is like because there's just so many like weird noises. It's not like a rhythm. I mean, there is a rhythm to it, but that's not what the song is. The song is all those creepy,
The song
spooky
is
things
the
in the background.
ambience.
Yeah. There's that like kind of sound like a ghost shrieking in the background. The little woo thing. There's just so much to it, and it's just when you're playing it, you don't really know what's the music and what's the monsters around you.
No, like you said, it always changes depending on your playthrough.
Yeah.
Or not depending on, but going from playthrough to playthrough. It'll be like you're fighting zombies right now, but
Yeah.
you'll fight zombies with like a particular like ability the first time,
Yeah, and
and then
then
the
next
second time you come through, they'll have a different ability,
Yeah. Yeah.
or they'll be like I don't know, like more of them than normal.
Yeah, or there might be different types of enemies. Last time there's skeletons, this time there's fallen with, flame enchanted, and you never know what you're going to get. And every time you run into a pack of elite monsters, they always have some different affixes to their name and different powers they have. So you can never... And there's that scream in the background.
Yep. Ah.
Basically, you can never. Whereas other RPGs, you get to the point where like, oh, I'm gonna fight that boss that's weak to fire. I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna go through this area that's all lightning enemies, so I'm gonna gear for that. Diablo's the kind of game. This goes with Diablo 2, Diablo 3 as well, where the packs of elites or champions as they're called, they always have random things and random enchantments, and you can never plan for what you're gonna encounter because all of them are different. They're always randomized.
True.
But this music is just it's so what a dungeon sounds like.
And that's the thing is like you go with it's with the theme of Diablo. It's not just your dungeon crawling action RPG game.
Oh yeah,
it's also horror.
Yeah, you're literally going into hell.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a good pick on that one. That was as I said, you can't get more dungeon than that.
No, you can't. Not when it comes to Diablo.
Well, that being said, for my final track, I'm definitely gonna go a different direction because I can't follow more dungeon than that. So I'll have to play you a different song. We opened with Castlevania, so I think it's natural for me to close it with Castlevania. Now, I'm going to play you a song that I don't know how familiar you are with this one, despite being a huge Castlevania fan.
Mm-hmm.
So this song actually originated in Castlevania Bloodlines, which is one for the Genesis, which I'll admit I've never played Castlevania Bloodlines, but that's where the origin of this song comes from, and it's only played in one other game. Unlike Vampire Killer and Bloody Tears, that's in almost every game. This is the next time this game popped up was in Portrait of Ruin for the DS. Now in this game, in Portrait of Ruin, all of the main castle is obviously, it's not necessarily Dracula's castle, but it's, you're going through the big castle as you do in Castlevania, but the castle is subdivided by each little mini dungeon where you enter a portrait, which is like a reference to another Castlevania game, more or less, and then you do mini dungeons, and I'm going to play you one of the songs that plays in one of the mini dungeons. The name of the song is Iron Blue Intention. And this is the Portrait of Ruin version of the song.
All right, well, let's go ahead and play the track.
And there we go, Iron Blue Intention from Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. I think that's honestly my favorite song from the entire Castlevania series. It's just got such a good rhythm.
I will say the name didn't ring a bell, but once I started listening to the song, I knew exactly what it was, and I was going with the beat to it.
Yeah. When I first played Portrait of Ruin, again, I never played Genesis, so I never heard the song in the game it's originally from. And, you play Castlevania, you expect to hear Bloody Tears, you expect to hear Vampire Killer, and obviously they're great songs, they're amazing, I love them. But when I was playing through Portrait of Ruin for the first time, and I got to this place, I just put my 3DS down and turned the music up and just, listened to it, loop, probably for 10 minutes, because I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's a really good song. I'm not going to say entirely different than the other songs that are in the Castlevania series.
Oh, no. But if I never heard the song and you played it and it says, hey, what series is this from? I'd be like, that sounds like Castlevania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you listen to the other Castlevania songs that they have, it still has its own unique rhythm to it.
Oh, yeah. I can pick out a song from Mega Man, I can pick out a song from Castlevania, even if I've never heard them, those games have their sound, and this sounds like
That's
Castlevania. That isn't a bad thing, in fact, I love pretty much every song from Castlevania, but, and don't get me wrong, the DS, it's a handheld, so obviously it doesn't have the best sound chip in it, but I think this is the very first song that ever made me want to go grab headphones and plug them into my DS.
Yeah, and I will say that is saying something because when it comes, like you said, when it comes to the DS, I mean, it's got that headphone jack, but
Not often
for
are
a
you just
major-
like,
not often you're just like, hold on, I need to listen to this.
yeah, and the nature of handheld games, you're playing them on a car ride. You usually don't have your sound up because no one else wants to hear your video game music. But this
true.
is one where like I was playing through it, and my second playthrough, I was at I wasn't at like a big family gathering, but I think I was on a car ride, and I was like, I'm just gonna pop my headphones in real quick because I really dig this song. And the rhythm is just so good, and it's got multiple parts to the song. It's not just like the same rhythm. It's got a pretty good B side and even a C side, I would call it.
This song definitely has more of the.
I love that build up.
I'm like, here we are. We're on this quest. We need to
Yeah.
get this done. Like
Yeah.
we have our like. It's not like we're unsure of what we need to do right now. It's like no, we know what we need to do. We need to go get it done.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a traditional dungeon per se, but the nature of Portrait of Ruin is you basically go into these mini dungeons that are all based on previous Castlevania games. And the original song itself is from, I believe, the factory level, which is kind of a dungeon in itself. But I like it too because it still has that that you're kind of lost feeling that other dungeon songs have had. But it's like a more heroic version of that feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely very heroic.
Yeah. Where you mentioned it's that, like, we know where we're going, we know what we have to do feeling. It's kind of got that, but with, like, the mix of all the other dungeon kind of mystery to them. Especially, like, this part. It's kind of got that, like, that feeling of, like, ooh, we don't know where we are, what do we have to do? But then this part starts building. I love the dun-dun-dun, dun-dun, and it goes up a higher tone or higher key each time. And then it gets up into that really heroic part coming up. It just keeps building and building, and then it gets back down into this. I really like that song.
I will definitely say that I also have never played Bloodlines because I've never. I was also
never owned a Genesis.
Never owned a Genesis.
Yeah.
Sad times.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like that theme, and that's my closer for this episode. I wanted to close with, we played a Castlevania song for our opening, and I wanted to close with it, and I just really like that song, and as much as I love Vampire Killer and Bloody Tears, I think Iron Blue Intention is my all-time favorite from the whole series. I just really like the way it sounds.
I'll agree. It's a very good one.
Well, Matt, it's that time of the episode where we before we do our closing, we want to thank everyone so much for listening. We really appreciate your support. I hope you love listening to these episodes as much as we love recording these episodes, because video game music is a huge passion of mine, and I know Matt loves it too. And
I do enjoy listening to the video game music. I mean, it's different. I mean, it's tracks that just they give you the sense of nostalgia. They give you ups. They give you downs.
They're so good at conveying feelings, I feel, which is how we can make this show, because you throw out the word dungeon and all of these songs, even though they're from completely different games, completely different franchises, different systems, different areas, they all had a feeling that made you're in a dungeon. And that's why I love video game music. Video game music is so distinct in the way it sounds that it's its own genre. And I just love playing the music for everyone, and I hope you enjoy listening to the episodes as much as we love recording them.
Yes. I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. Derek, what before we get on to our closing song, what can we hint at, or we can just go ahead and tell them what's our next episode? What should the people be looking out for in the future?
Well, it's pretty natural that when you're going through a video game, you're going through the dungeon. What's at the end of the dungeon? A boss.
The boss.
That's right. You encounter a boss at the end of the dungeon. We're gonna play. Our next episode will be dedicated to those boss tunes, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. I definitely want to hear. Tell us what your favorite track was. I know mine. It's really hard for me to pick because this whole episode has been filled with great tunes, but we definitely want to hear what your favorite is. Go ahead and refer if you have any friends who like video game music, tell them we got these two guys. They play great music. Go ahead and tell us what your favorite is. We would love to hear from you, and we definitely appreciate you listening and anyone else you think might enjoy it.
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on Spotify.
Yeah, we're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. You can find us by searching VGM Lounge. And these episodes get uploaded to YouTube, and these videos have, we put the track title in the game for people who need that or want that. You can check out the YouTube link that has the full video and the audio only on great podcasting websites.
All right, Derek. So what we have for the closing song for me today is from Super Metroid, and it is Brinstar, The Underground Depths.
Okay, yeah. Super Metroid's my all-time favorite game, right next to Final Fantasy Tactics. So I love me some Super Metroid, and yeah, this is a nice way to end the episode. Again, thank you so much to everyone for listening. We really appreciate it.
We really do. Thanks, guys.